Hey neighbors, Mike McCarty here again. I'm bringing you another episode of the Rough and Tumble channel. Hope everyone out there is doing well. We're doing good. We just trying to make it like everybody else. Trying to keep up with doing some of these episodes. Went to the doctor and found out some good stuff on the cancer, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I know some of you are going through some tough stuff as well, so we'll be praying for you. This story goes back a good long while, and I remember the story in the Bible about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and the fire, and how they were spared. And the king said, we saw a fourth person in there, and it was the Lord. And man, that story has always impressed me. And this story reminds me something that I don't want to compare myself to these people, but very much a powerful story. I was working down on the Amoco HL Griffin lease, and myself and the apprentice, the lease was down, and we were troubleshooting, trying to get the wells pumping again, bring that black gold out of the ground, and so we were down there working on it, and I had spotted a burn off connection on top of a pole, and it had quadruplex up there. That's wrapped cables, but it was 480 volts, three phase. Had another line for lease control, and we use those two-way radios in the truck, and you couldn't, if you were down in a hole or place where there's a big hill between you and the radio tower back at the shop, you couldn't get the signal. Well, my employer had drove down in there and said, we couldn't get a message to you. We need you to go so-and-so as soon as you get through here. I said, well, that's fine. And I said, but since you are here, I said, I've got to make that wire up. And I said, I'd like you to go over through the woods there and watch that well and let me know if that thing comes on. That all sounds kind of crazy and goofy because, wouldn't be making a connection up under a load, so it must have been a control wire, and I just wanted to touch it. If you don't know for sure what all's going on there, a lot of times we would have a bare end, use some rubber gloves in that bucket truck and skin the end a little bit, come back on the wire, leave some lead hang out, and just touch it and see what happened. That sounds kind of crazy, but it's a faster way to do a little troubleshooting and figure something out. And if you're back away from the end of the wire, the arc, if it does arc, it's not going to hurt you. And so he said, oh yeah, he drove over there and was sitting at that well, and I got up in that bucket, skinned the end, had my rubber gloves on, skinned the end of that wire, and shoot, I was at least this far from it, and left a little bit of tail hanging out, had that wire, and I reached over there and just bumped it, and man, it was a huge ball of fire. I don't remember all the details. This sounds like a far-fetched story, but I'm going to tell you something. This is not far-fetched. This is what happened. And it was maybe some freak or something. I saw some other freaks working down in there before. It was things that just weren't normal. And but that fire was so big, such a big ball of fire. Here comes the employer tearing back over there, and he pulled up in there and jumps out and he says, I saw that. I saw you in that ball of fire. He says, that ball just was all over you. And I said, well, that sure seemed like it. Of course, I was in the middle of the situation, and I didn't have his vantage point, but I thought that it had, was so big, it kind of just engulfed me. I say this stuff kind of incredulously. I know this can't happen and me be here to tell it without injury or anything, but it happened, and I'm able to tell you, and I wasn't burned, I wasn't hurt, didn't even have a hair singed, and there's no explanation other than I was just protected. I was protected so I could be a problem for you guys. I'll tell you the truth. Or so I could come home to that sweet lady I'm married to. This month it'll be 50 years. Wow. Folks, this life is so short. And for me, there's been the threat of removing life from me quite a number of times over the years, and then watching things and seeing others hurt. Life is very precious. And I keep in mind that this life is temporary, that what's ahead, what the Lord has waiting for us is, we can't even compare this life to that. There's no comparison. I think about all the things that we consider just taking for granted, what we do in life and the process of living, that won't even affect us in that realm. It won't be the same. It'll be so fabulous. But I think about that ball of fire and that guy coming over, driving fast over there and then getting out and said, I don't understand it. I don't see how you're alive. I don't see how you're not burned. He said, but there you are. And I said, well, I'm not quite sure that was more of an arc than there should have been. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And not too far from there, I saw some of the strangest stuff that couldn't have been explained in any normal way that I know of. And I've been in the trade over 50 years, and I just don't know. But praise the Lord is what I say. Praise the Lord. Well, that's the story for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you all are having everything just going great for you, and that you're being blessed. Till next time, I'm Mac McCarty saying so long for the Rough and Tumble channel.